The holidays are a great time to pack on some extra body fat, but since that's usually not the goal for most folks, in this video I'm going to help you understand all the really common mistakes, a lot of effort that people put into trying not to gain weight that's actually causing them to gain weight. And in this video you're going to learn the actual physiological problems that are causing the body to not only stop burning fat, but to actually store more fat. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to avoid this so you can get through your holidays and have a good time and not weigh an extra 30 pounds. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
When it comes to avoiding holiday weight gain, it's really not about the number of calories that you're consuming. It's not, oh man, all this food, I'm consuming all these calories. It's really about the hormonal effect that those food choices create, and then what those hormones are telling your body to do with those food choices. So it's not about always the amount of food, it's about the choices of the food. So what we want to look at first when we're looking at these hormonal effects is the effects of insulin. This is the biggest factor when it comes to weight gain, and there's a lot of other factors we're going to cover, but we can't skip over this. A lot of people understand this now, but it's amazing to me sometimes how many people don't. So when we're looking at our food choices, we need to look what's going to spike insulin, because as insulin goes high, it tells our body, hey, there's a lot of glucose here, so we're going to work on burning this glucose. We're not going to burn stored fat. So as long as insulin is high, that stored fat can't be used as fuel. So anytime we're eating carbohydrates, sugars, and especially liquid sugars, that's going to raise those insulin levels to help sweep that glucose out of the bloodstream. Here's the problem. The blood sugar will burn up pretty quickly in an hour or so, but insulin takes a lot longer to come down. And as long as that insulin level is high, it's telling the body, hey, we're not in fat burning mode. We're in fat storing mode. It's telling the body we have plenty of glucose, so let's just burn up this glucose and we're going to save more fat for later, for an emergency. When we run out of fuel, we're going to have this stored fat, so keep storing it away for this rainy day that's never going to come. So what we need to do is look at ways to keep that insulin from being too high for too long. So one thing that confuses a lot of people about the holidays is they think that it's about getting together with family and sharing love and showing gratitude, but it's not. It's about pie. Holidays are about pie and all the sweets and all the baked goods and all the junk that you see. How can it not be about pie? Because it's everywhere you look, every time you show up for a holiday event. So we need to figure out how can we enjoy these pies and all these good stuff without creating this massive effect on our fat storage situation. So here's some things that we can do just to reduce that effect a little bit. One thing we want to do is we really want to watch the liquid sugars. Liquid sugars like alcohol or juice or sodas and all these eggnoggy kind of things, the liquid sugars hit your body a lot faster because they don't need to break down. They just go right in. So those sugars can cause a bigger insulin spike, and that bigger, higher insulin level will stay high much longer. So one thing we can do is we can try to reduce those liquid sugars until we at least have some food in our stomach that will reduce the speed at which they go into the bloodstream. So save your alcohol or your fruity tooty sugary stuff until at least after you've eaten some food. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we're getting enough protein, and we want to let those sugars come in after the protein's already in there, because that will also reduce how hard and how fast those sugars hit your bloodstream. So don't walk into the party and start eating all the chips and all the sweets. You want to get your food and your protein in before you start jacking up those insulin levels so high. Don't view this as a free pass. Don't like, oh, I had a slice of turkey so I can eat 14 donuts and not gain weight. You're going to gain weight when you have 14 donuts. Just look at this as one more thing you can at least put in your favor to reduce the damage that's going to show up. Another thing you could do is you can just make your own dessert to bring to the party or the family event or wherever it is, and make a low carb dessert. There's cajillion recipes on the internet. Just look for low carb or keto dessert or something that's going to lower those carbs. There's a lot of really delicious options. And if you bring a lower carb dessert, then that gives you an option to, hey, I'm going to have a dessert, I'm going to enjoy this time, but I'm not going to spike my insulin so high with this huge level of sugar. Another big mistake I see people make is like, oh, I made a gluten-free dessert. So it's gluten-free, so it's healthy. And you're right, there are some people that have problematic issues with gluten, and consuming that gluten can raise the stress in the body and create a lot of problems. But this is not everybody. And the real problem is that a lot of things, especially if you're buying gluten-free foods, or here's a gluten-free cake mix, it still has the same amount of carbohydrates, and sometimes it even has more carbohydrates and sugars to make up for the flavor that it lost by leaving the gluten out. So don't try to view eating gluten-free as it's really healthy. It can bring benefits, but you still need to watch the level of carbs you're bringing in, or you're going to spike insulin just as high. Another factor when it comes to holiday weight gain is the stress that comes along with the holidays. And people view stress as, oh, stress isn't healthy. But they don't really understand the effect that it can have on body storing extra fat for fuel later. So what we want to look at is when the body is stressed, the body will raise stress hormones like cortisol and even estrogen and other stress hormones in an effort to help the body get through this emergency, whatever it's viewing as an emergency. If you're being chased by a lion, the body's going to raise these stress hormones to change the way that the body is operating in an effort to promote your survival. It's prioritizing survival over everything else. You're being chased by a lion. All right, I got to change the way the body works so that you can get away or fight off this lion. I'm going to give you these immediate fuel sources and help the body function at a higher level. So this is great. This is the body helping us survive. But when we're stressed all day long or all month long or whatever it is, those stress hormones are staying high all the time, and it's going to create a lot of problems. Your body doesn't know that you're stressed because you don't feel like having that same conversation with your Aunt Martha at the family party again. It views that stress as, oh, I'm being chased by a lion, I'm going to change the way the body operates. Since glucose is a fast-burning fuel and can increase your energy expenditure in the quickest way, your body, those stress hormones can say, hey, let's break down tissue like muscles and turn that into glucose through the process of gluconeogenesis, and then we're going to supply the body with this greater glucose source. And now the body has more glucose in the bloodstream, and then insulin goes even higher, and then the body says, hey, let's store fat for fuel for later, and it stops burning fat as long as that insulin is high. So just the stress can sometimes equate to I ate a donut. I didn't even get to have a donut, I was just stressed, but my body is reacting in a similar way that it would if you ate a donut. So we really got to find a way to simmer down now a little bit when we're going through these holidays so that the stress is not magnifying our body's desire to store more fat and to really stop burning stored fat. So whether it's the stress of spending time with family members that kind of drive you nuts, or the stress of spending all the money that you're spending, or maybe it's just the stress of trying to make your kids really happy during the holidays. That can be really stressful. But just try to make your kids like 80% as happy as you want to make them. It's going to be great. They're going to be really excited. You know, I think every single Christmas of my entire childhood, I asked for a drum set and a go-kart. Never got a drum set. Never got a go-kart. So I was fine. You know, it was a little disappointing every time I didn't get a drum set, but my world was not a disaster. So don't stress yourself out trying to make everything perfect for a holiday. The holiday is supposed to be enjoyable, and you're making yourself miserable by trying to make everything perfect. Go for an 80% good holiday. Don't go for a perfect holiday. Just go for a good holiday. One of the biggest mistakes I want you to avoid is I don't want you to try to out-cardio all the bad food choices that you're making. You just can't do it. People that view things as calories in as calories out, they're just going to try to burn more calories and think that that's going to work. But it just doesn't. It's not about the calories that are coming in. It's about the effect that those food choices have on your hormones and what that effect tells your body to do with the food choices that are coming in. So don't try to out cardio, because what you're doing when you're just trying to do extra cardio is you're stressing the body further. You're trying to get it to do all this stuff with fuel that it doesn't have available, because you're trying to burn more than went in. And when you stress the body out, those stress hormones are going to be elevated, and they're going to tell the body to store fat just like it does when it thought you were running from a lion. So don't try to view this as, oh, I can just do more cardio. One thing you can do is, if you do resistant workouts, you can do more resistance workouts during this time while you're eating more carbohydrates, because the body can use those carbohydrates to fuel that type of workout, and you can kind of view it as more of a muscle building time instead of a fat burning time. Carbohydrates are very useful in that process of building more muscle. So that doesn't mean you need to be jacked up and be an alien freak action figure. You can just increase your muscle tone by building muscle during this time. So do more resistance workout, and don't focus on, I'm going to try and run like Forrest Gump until I burn off all the pie I ate. And one of the biggest steps you can take is to make sure that you're taking steps to keep your bile thin so it's flowing correctly. Bile is made in the liver and is stored in the gallbladder, and once our food is acidified in the stomach and it leaves the stomach, this bile is squirted down onto the food, and it helps us neutralize all those acids and really digest our food correctly. It also helps us break down our dietary fats. But the problem is that there's a lot of foods like, processed grains and all these baked goods and all this sugary junk that have the ability to thicken up our bile so it won't flow correctly. And when the bile's not flowing correctly, not only does it not come down so it can help us digest and really break our food apart, this is problematic because when the food is not broken down properly, it becomes a burden to the body. The body says, oh, I can't use this if it's not broken down. And they'll say, what can I do with it? Oh, I'll just store it in these fat cells so it doesn't cause problems. So undigested food can actually magnify the fat storage in our body. So we really want to make sure bile is flowing correctly so that we can digest our food correctly. But also, when the liver filters toxins out of the body, it puts it into this bile, and then as it flows through the intestinal tract, those toxins go out the back door. So if you're doing things that are thickening up the bile so that it can't flow correctly, those toxins can't leave the body like they're supposed to. This is the body's main detox pathway. So if all those toxins are in the body, some of them can get stored in fat cells. So it's another way to magnify fat storage. And the problem is that stress and raising stress hormones like estrogen is one of the biggest things that can thicken up bile. And so is all this processed grains and junk and baked things that we eat during the holidays. So if you're going to be doing all these things and having all this stress, you really want to take steps to make sure that bile is thinning out. I'll point you to a video that'll help you take some steps to thin out your bile here at the end of the video, but if you also want to learn more, my book Kick Your Fat in the Nuts will walk you through the step of making sure the digestive process is working correctly, and also understanding the hormonal effects of insulin and some of these things that we consume. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'm going to put a link in the description below this video so you can get the whole thing totally for free. And that, if you just feel like you need more help, that'll walk you through that process. And one of the biggest tips that can be the most helpful for most people is to just understand that right after that holiday, get right back on track. Just the next day, have a plan in place, have the food in the house that you know what you're going to eat so that you can get right back on track. And all the crazy junk food doesn't have to extend for a week. When we extend for a week and we're keeping those insulin levels that high for that long, that's really going to create the real fat storage. So when you're baking the cookies, the next day go and give them to your neighbor. You don't have to eat them for a whole week. Give them to your neighbor. Let them gain weight. Then their clothes don't fit them anymore and they hand their clothes down to you, not just a hat rack. So we can take steps to keep from making this holiday day or holiday week a holiday month. We really want to shorten the time that we're creating these problems. This can also help you enjoy the holiday so you don't feel like you have to be perfect. Just understand that, hey, I'm going to have a good time and I'm going to get right back on track, and I have a plan to do that. Now, there was a time where I couldn't have any junk. My body was not doing well enough that I could handle it. I always had to avoid it. But now my body is much healthier. I can avoid some enjoyment things, some really junk that I wouldn't usually eat. And as long as I get right back on track, the effects are not that bad. So above all, enjoy your holiday. I'll put the links to those free tools down in the description below this video. And for now, make sure that your bile stays thin so you don't create problems by all the stress and all the junk that you're eating. Check out our video on 5 steps to improve bile flow. I can't wait to hear about your results.